Welcome to your math lesson on Monday, March 30th. Before we launch our learning, let's go over the steps on how to divide decimals. Number 1, you need to multiply the divisor by a power of 10 if it has a decimal. When we divide decimals, we cannot have a decimal in our divisor, so we multiply it by a power of 10 to move that decimal out. If we do that, then we must do step number 2. We must also divide the dividend by the same power of 10. That keeps the relationship between the numbers, so our answer stays the same. Number 3, we're going to move that decimal exactly up on the elevator to the rooftop party and keep it in the exact same place, and then we're going to divide. So let's look at our problem today. We have Evan and 2 friends had lunch together. They all ordered the same meal. The bill was $18.75. What was Evan's share of the bill? So the equation that we are trying to solve is 1875 divided by 3. This is a tricky problem in a couple ways. So number 1, it says Evan and 2 friends. It's really easy for us to see the number 2 and want to divide this by 2. But nope, today we're going to divide it by 3 because Evan needs to pay his fair share for his meal. Another key point is they ordered the same meal. That means they all need to pay the same price when the bill comes. So if the bill was $18.75, we're going to take that and divide it by 3 to figure out what the total of each person's bill was. So let's go through the steps together. I'm going to set the problem up. I have 3 divided by 18.75. Now here's what really threw some of you guys for a loop on Friday with my steps for solving division problems. So number 1 says multiply the divisor by a power of 10. Now we only do that if our divisor here has a decimal. Well, our divisor doesn't have a decimal. We don't need to multiply it by a power of 10 to get rid of a decimal. So we just kind of skip step 1 because we don't need it. If I skip step 1, guess what? I also have to skip step 2 because the whole idea with step 1 and step 2 is to keep that relationship the same. And if I didn't multiply this by anything, then my number stays the same. So we're actually just going to jump straight to step 3. We're going to move the decimal up to the exact same place. So this decimal is going to take a little elevator straight up to the rooftop party. I can see from here that I'm actually going to have 2 digits after my decimal. My decimal is going to go to the hundredths place in my answer. So if that decimal is removed from my dividend, then my equation is 3 divided into 1,875. So first I look, can I find a group of 3 and 1? No. But can I find a group of 3 and 18? I can. And not just one group, I can find 6 groups. So if 6 groups of 3 is 18, then 600 groups of 3 would be 1,800. Then I'm left with 75. Can I find a group of 3 and 7? You bet. How many? I can find 2. 2 groups of 3 is 6. So 20 groups of 3 would be 60. I'm left with 15. Can I find a group of 3 and 1? I can't. But can I find a group of 3 and 15? I can. I can find 5. 5 groups of 3 is 15. So then my answer is 625. I know my decimal is waiting right there. I know my answer has to go to the hundredths place, so it would fit in there. Or you could write it as 625.